All right. So my next guest is Felix, head of ecosystem at Symbiotic. Very excited to have you because we've known each other for a while, but maybe I will explain later. Please give a massive round of applause to Felix.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
And I guess maybe I start. We know each other for like 5 years. Felix was a very good person to Kiln. For those we remember, maybe two person in the company now, the company that is bigger, because you've been a large contributor at Chorus One and Lido, and you made sure we've been one of the first providers, staking providers, to help the Lido protocol to grow. So again, thank you very much for your help. Thank you very much for your trust and for your friendship. So I'm very excited to have you today. But maybe can you introduce yourself quickly and explain a little bit your journey in crypto, in staking, and now at Symbiotic?
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, Laszlo, for having me, and thanks, Kiln, for hosting this really great event. I'm Felix. I'm the head of ecosystem at Symbiotic. I have like 6 years in the staking space, working as the chief commercial officer at Chorus One of the leading stake providers from Switzerland, and been like interested in the mechanics of staking and the interplay between staking and DeFi from the very start. So we've been, when I was at Chorus One of the early investors in Lido and kind of a DAO contributor, helping to decentralize the operator set. So that's what Laszlo was referring to when Kiln was still Skills, for the people that remember this name. And so, basically left Chorus One early last year and was thinking about, how the staking space evolved over the time from, these new shared security models that are emerging, and kind of like the experiences we made over the past 5 years, launching like over 40 different networks with Chorus One, and kind of thinking where is this space going and how will the future of security look, and met the Symbiotic team earlier this year, and really liked the approach that we're taking to building a generalizable shared security system that's permissionless, that's immutable, things that we're going to talk about, and decided to join, and now heading the partnerships and ecosystem effort for us to bring networks to use our shared security system and help them succeed, help them decentralize their operator set, and help them succeed in what they're trying to build.
Yeah, that's super cool. And can you come back to how did you meet your co-founders? I think one of them is in the room today, Misha. Is a co-founder, officially also office manager, as you told me prior, right? Which actually can be complementary, co-founder and office manager. So how did you meet your co-founders?
They've been. So I'm the head of ecosystem. I joined as the first person to lead sort of the business side. Misha and Algis have been working together in different capacities across the infrastructure and staking space. One of the companies did build Lido on Polkadot back in the day when Lido was trying a first sort of expansion to different ecosystems. At that time, I was actually working with Chorus One at Lido on Solana. So these efforts kind of got shut down or were retired, and Misha and Algis went on to build a audit company, StateMind, that has been one of the leading EVM auditors and has built a really strong team where they looked a lot at how to build secure smart contract systems and how they can break. And together with the experience from Polkadot, which is one of the first shared security systems, they realized the opportunity to build pretty much the most, decentralized, the most crypto native, modular, flexible shared security system from first principles, and that's what Symbiotic is. So I met them kind of in the middle of their journey when they just raised money in the fundraising round that got announced recently with our launch. And it was a perfect fit for me because I have this background of staking and saw a lot of the pitfalls of launching a decentralized network where you can kind of optimize maybe or how things could be done better, and some mistakes that are being repeated by people launching new networks, because many people have this, like they're building a network and then they have this not invented here syndrome, I like to think, where it's like, well, none of what came before matters. We're just building from scratch everything.
Do you want to give some names or?
I don't know. Like you can turn the camera off and then. No, but I mean.
I know still a few inventors of liquid staking, right? It seems like it's been invented by so many people at the same time, right?
Yeah. I guess liquid staking is kind of a result of some of the inefficiencies in some of the core protocol staking designs that some people built. Sometimes it's necessary for the protocol to be secure to have certain restrictions, but in other times, like you unnecessarily sort of make liquid staking too powerful almost, and then that can be, I think, an issue where if you design the protocol from first principles with the ecosystem that will emerge around it in mind, you can kind of avoid some of the, I think, pitfalls that happened in other systems where now you maybe have some external solution to your protocol kind of dominate a lot of the stake, which wasn't necessarily needed if you had designed your system in a bit better way. And that's essentially what we're trying to facilitate with Symbiotic, that builders of networks that want to have a decentralized network can kind of have the tools to build it in such a way that, kind of foster flourishing decentralized ecosystem can emerge. Pretty much that.
And you mentioned Polkadot being one of the first, maybe the first kind of shared security network. You have been also flourishing in this restaking narrative lately. I would say before we discussed a little bit was the differentiation of your main competitor in that space. Let's say, how would you define restaking yourself?
Right. Yeah, I think I guess there's kind of shared security as a broad term for anything where you want to reutilize the collateral for different use cases, basically in a way that, basically kind of scale the security that's provided. And restaking to me is a little bit like a specific case of shared security where some of the earlier shared security systems, they sort of mandatorily made the node operators run more networks. So for example, in Polkadot you have the relay chain and then you have the parachains and every operator has to run all the parachains mandatorily. Versus restaking is more taking an approach of it's opt-in. You don't, the same capital can be reused, but the operators can sort of decide if they actually want to take part in this new network. And that brings more optionality and is a step in the right direction to sort of enable a more diverse, a better system that's not as rigid and less opinionated. We'll get to and basically what we're trying to build is the most flexible, unopinionated system that allows builders to really, build the system in a way that it can decentralize and that we can have different configurations that sort of fit your application use case and basically provide kind of the basics for decentralization, so economic security and operator selection to create a decentralized network, which is kind of what we're trying to do.
Right. And coming back on, I guess the competition or the protocol just before that has been bringing back shared security with restaking on the table. How would you say you differentiate yourself, and was it also a driver to say, I think restaking is really important, but that could be done differently?
Yeah. So I guess we're talking about Eigler here. I guess say the word.
We would say the word first, right?
So I would say that definitely, I think there's just a phase in the Ethereum roadmap, I would say, and Ethereum as a community and network of builders kind of converging towards this app chain vision that is existed in Cosmos and other places for a long time, or in the crypto space at large. If you look at the crypto space from outside, we have all these tribes right within crypto, but if you look 1,000 feet view, you have all these different ecosystems. You already have app chains, like layer ones, whatever you want to call them. So I think in the Ethereum space at large, this arrived through like the roll-up roadmap, and basically people are realizing, oh, you can have different infrastructure use cases, different ways of having staking in the system. It's not like limited to the base layer only. So before, I guess the paradigm was that you would launch like as a smart contract on Ethereum, and that's all you need. You can have all the logic built on Ethereum. Realize this doesn't scale. So
Right.
I think Eigenlayer was like kind of first to kind of combine this idea and put it into an Ethereum. Which is like a great contribution, and of course they've like continued to done like great research and build like products and brought like the ecosystem around the mindshare. More people are interested in actually building decentralized services now, and for us we take into account of all these lessons that came before us. Of course, we're not building in a vacuum or something. We're just taking from the experience that Misha and Algis have had in like from the smart contract side, and me from the operator side, knowing how different staking mechanisms work and how they can what like sort of the ecosystem that builds around the staking mechanism will turn out to be, and kind of combining this into like a coherent system that can like serve all these use cases and can be like flexible and can be unopinionated towards the builders. So we realized that most important here is the people building networks on top of our shared security system, because they are the ones that will drive the value. So we're trying to like remove the friction as much as possible for someone that wants to choose their any staking system or any like sort of operator selection or economic security system, and basically just providing the core primitives that you need for such a system. So really just defining the agreements that, or like enforcing the agreements that the different parties in the shared security protocol enter into. So like the node operators, the capital providers, and the networks. So there can be different permutations of systems built on top of Symbiotic, and that's basically what the protocol is.
And it seems you don't interact as much, or I would say interfere into the governance and into the token mechanism of a defined protocol that could basically use Symbiotic to get shared security from Ethereum or other very large protocols that we'll use in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Like we take an approach of permissionlessness, where basically we're providing these core primitives, and then we don't try to limit the assets you want to support, or like if you want to build a network with a certain collateral type, like why would it be limited to ETH or restaked ETH, right? Like in the end, people want to build like staking systems around their own tokens, or maybe the ecosystem they are a part of, and especially like in the L2 roadmap, we see like a lot of new ecosystems emerging around like these L2 tokens, like Arbitrum, Optimism, which have like the communities of their own. So restaking and basically allows them to, the same way that it allows like the Ethereum community to build like use cases around Ethereum core system, it allows the L2 system to like align with applications that are built for L2s. And so we think, why not go there and try to help bring this to life and help them build these infrastructure use cases around their own ecosystem. So we have one initial launch partner like Ethina that wants to basically build the staking utility for ENA token around around Symbiotic. So we can go into why that is a great idea and what they get from that. But basically the idea is that you can like layer additional use cases over time on top of the same kind of core staking primitives, and you're not like isolated in your own native staking system as you would if you would like roll it from scratch. And that has like benefits of like network effects from like operators knowing how the system will work and not having to learn it again from scratch. The capital being able to be reused because it's not like isolated in this native staking system, and being able to be used in other parts of the ecosystem and things like that. So that's what we want to enable.
And the other part, which sounds really exciting to me, is the immutability of the protocol and the primitive. What do you think is important? And the reason it seems exciting to me is like everyone's talking about decentralization, but it seems to me that the purest form of decentralization is actually immutability. Do you agree with this, and why do you think it's important?
Yeah, I do agree with this. I think, yeah, basically what you get from being immutable is hard to get any other way, because that's like the core. Like you can't change the rules for the people building on top of you, like, and so that's a very important primitive, especially for like large protocols that really, and this staking is like the core of your system, right? You're basically defining who gets to verify transactions or whatever the network in question does. So if that is built on something that that has governance or a DAO that can like influence and change the rules on everyone building on top, that means that now you're like exposed to that. So your trust assumptions are actually mostly on this governance multisig or DAO or whatever it is, whereas in an immutable system, you're only trusting your own implementation or whatever the controller is there. So you can retain the sovereignty, which is very important for many cases. And the other trust assumptions are, of course, on Ethereum itself, which is why we're building on Ethereum, because it's like the most secure and decentralized like kind of execution layer. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for Bitcoiners, no deep debate over there, right? I mean, I don't know if you're aware, but I mean, you're definitely aware. I don't know if the audience is aware, but you're now capping what can people put in collateral on the protocol, and it seems you had two caps. Maybe that's right. You will confirm or otherwise, but you've been exploding one cap of $400 million worth of ETH in 2 minutes, and $1 billion worth of ETH in 24 hours. So why do you think that has been as successful? To my understanding or to my knowledge, I haven't seen such a big success in DeFi for quite a while. So what do you think it has been so successful? Where does money all come from, man?
Right. Yeah, thanks, first of all. Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a ecosystem being built around like liquid restaking tokens, and sort of we're in the second phase of the DeFi summer, I think, where everyone is looking for yield or like additional returns on their assets, and certainly that's kind of driving a lot of the interest in restaking. The reason why we chose to do caps is also to like kind of contain this a little bit, because right now in our system we're working towards having the full system live with slashing, and the networks that are using Symbiotic shared security to secure the infrastructure or whatever the use case is they're building. But as we ramp up there's like a little chicken egg problem where you kind of need the economic security for them to build on it. So that's why we chose this like phased rollout approach. I think what we want to make sure is that when we launch on mainnet with the entire system, we are also like reliant kind of on our launch partners' roadmaps and their implementations of shared security that will have slashing, because only then you really have risk in the system. So I think some of the success of these platforms in general, not just us, is kind of driven by the lack of risk yet and like sort of this free option that you're getting. But we are very working very hard on like bringing the full system and helping the teams to actually build like networks that need the security and that will have slashing, so that the dynamics will also shift a little bit more in favor of players that know how to evaluate risk and don't just onboard something because maybe they get some airdrop or something, but rather making like informed decisions and only supporting what they actually want to enter into. So yeah, that's kind of what we're working towards, and we have like the entire system is kind of designed around making that easy as well. So we have this internal vault structure in the protocol that basically allows you to manage delegations across networks and operators in various ways that can be used by, for example, the liquid restaking tokens or protocols, but also by institutions or like node operators that serve institutions to build specific vaults for their institutional clients that only expose like a certain amount of assets to a specific network, or basically only support like a subset of networks that they are comfortable with dealing with, versus like, just doing everything. So because we think that will be very important, and as we know, like the more institutional you get, the more like risk averse you are also. So you want to have like systems, and everyone has like a different opinion of what's safe and whatnot, and we're trying to basically enable them to like express that and build that on chain. So like bringing it really into the protocol itself versus it having to happen off chain and some agreements or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, 2 or 3 last questions. I'm sorry for the ones after, but it's very exciting, right? Very interesting. So it's a lot of information we want to get, right? So maybe just two or three, because there's just 2 questions that are kind of related. You mentioned about risk and slashing. Do you think, because it's also very related to institutions, right? Institutions want to understand the risk and rewards profile, and they won't enter, I guess, a restaking protocol if they don't understand the risk. So is it something, slashing, that is coming, I mean, it's coming down the line, but should we expect it before the end of the year, or what is the kind of roadmap there?
Yeah, so from our perspective, like as the protocol, or like the contributors to the protocol, we will have like kind of the systems in place to have slashing, and then it kind of depends on the builders that are building networks on top of Symbiotic, when they are ready with their mainnet implementation to actually have slashing. So I think potentially we'll see like the first one of those by the end of the year, yeah, and hopefully our system like in Q4, something like this. Yeah. Okay,
cool.
I don't want to give it too much.
Sorry, Misha. Yeah. Now you have to deliver, but it's so hot in Dubai anyway that there's one thing you have to do, right? Yeah, and I guess institutional adoption, how do you see it, right? What kind of institution do you think like will use Symbiotic in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen like institutional adoption grow a lot since like the start of Ethereum, and partially due to like players like Kiln that have made it easier to for institutions to like enter the staking ecosystem, because it's like quite complex, right? And the risks are unknown, but there's like a lot of education you need to do, and then also like infrastructure you need to build to support it. And we're benefiting from that because we're also like on Ethereum, and I think, of course, restaking is a pretty nascent space, so we know that there is still like a lot of question marks and a lot of open questions that need to be figured out for institutions to actually, start engaging with it. But we believe that our system is set up for it in the long run, given like sort of the design choices we've made and the sort of isolation that we allow through the vault system, that you can, you don't necessarily have to issue some token. You can like really isolate where the stake is going and to what extent you want to be slashable. So in this way, you can really set up a complex and compliant staking system. So we expect anyone that has an interest in infrastructure and building the decentralized internet, I guess, to use it in the long run, right?
Okay, last one. No, I can see Mari's trying to blow and say, guys, we are over time. Okay, yeah, I mean, let's give one question to the audience. Do you have one question? So I guess over there, you were very fast. It's nice. Your turn.
Thank you, Lasse. Florian from...
I'm Florian.
Thank you, Laszlo. So I'm Florian from Nodes International. So the question is, do you have a point system, or do you have a staking reward system like that we can, know about if we are validators on the network?
Wow, that's a very good question. Thanks for this one question. We love it.
Right. I mean, if you visit our like official channels, you'll see what's there right now. I think that's all I can say to that. There will be also, for us, the players that will reward the node operators will be the networks, as it is in proof of stake. And so, it'll be up to them how they structure their system, and you can do due diligence if you want to onboard it or not. We're going to make sure that like basically there's templates for them to use for the reward payout, and that when they launch a mainnet, they're actually ready to like support a decentralized node operator set. That is kind of towards the partners that we are working closely with. But of course, like the system is actually permissionless, so someone could launch some network beforehand, and it might not have that. So that's kind of the state of things. I think that's what I can say to that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.